That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Hello and welcome to Content and Capable, a podcast all about following your passions while still feeling like a proper adult. My name's Sam and I'm your host. This week I spoke to the wonderful Catieosaurus all about her many varied interests and how she communicates them on the internet. Welcome to Content and Capable, Catie. It's lovely to have you on.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, I can't believe that you responded to my message. Like, I send messages to everyone going, I do not expect ever to get a response. And you've been one of my favourite creators over the past 2 years to watch because it's just so much fun. And I don't have ADHD, but sometimes I look at your content and I go, yes, I feel this. Feel this on a very deep level.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah. For those who might not know who you are or might not recognize your voice, who are you?
I guess that would be helpful, right? Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm Catieosaurus. I am an ADHD educator and advocate, primarily on TikTok, but I'm spread it out to the other social medias. I also am a certified sex educator, and my area of special interest is neurodivergency, specifically in like kink and the BDSM community. I also have a podcast. It's called Catie and Eric's Infinite Quest. We talk about life with ADHD and depression and navigating life as neurodivergent adults. But mostly I'm a nerd on the internet, and I talk a lot about ADHD and the lived experience therein.
Yeah. As I said when we were setting this up, I always forget that you are also a certified sex educator. And it's like, it's this cool like other half to like your amazing expertise. And I go, what? How did you get into sex education?
Honestly, I love that you asked that question. Really out of spite, honestly, because the real truth is that I grew up in a very conservative, very religious household, where like sex and sexuality was very shameful. You know, like exploring your body was shameful. Like it's just anything having to do with sex was like, we don't talk about it. It's dirty. It's gross. Whatever. Yeah. And so then like growing up, I realized like as I sort of like got older, I realized like how unhealthy that was, and so I sort of I think naturally sort of got interested in like sex and sexuality. And then out of that experience, especially in conversation with my specific neurodivergencies, I have ADHD, I also have depression, I realized that so much of the like sex conversation is built for like neurotypical brains, people without neurodivergencies like ADHD or autism or that kind of thing. And so as I got more invested and more interested in like the kink and BDSM community, especially, I realized that there were so many just very like nuanced and very like separate concerns that can affect a neurodivergent person as opposed to somebody without those issues. But there wasn't really anybody talking about them. There wasn't really anybody having conversations about like, you know, what do you do if you literally forget the safe word? Or like, what do you do if you have time blindness? Or like, how do you keep somebody safe with rejection sensitivity? Like that kind of thing. And I was like, well, and I kind of like looked around, you know, and I was like, well, if nobody else is going to do it, I guess I will. And so I sort of like studied in secret for a year, and I became a certified sex educator. And now I talk about it on the internet all the time, much to the embarrassment of my mother.
I was about to say, and all this research, all this investment, and your parents are probably like, oh.
My mom is very, very much in the, well, why do you have to talk about just the sex on the internet? Why do you have to, like, that's not at all what my mom sounds like, but that's the voice that I use when I'm doing my mom.
Yeah. I definitely have that the same. Like, even this podcast, it's like, why are you doing this? Like, what is the point? And I go, like, there's multiple reasons, and I can't just pinpoint it on one kind of thing here. Like, it's a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah. And to become like a certified sex educator, I don't know what that looks like. What was that process for you?
It was actually really interesting. I mean, the actual process of becoming a certified sex educator is not that exciting. It's mostly just taking a bunch of classes. I think there's like, and depending on like, there's 3 or 4 different organizations that do certification. So it like depends on like how many hours. And like, there's one organization where like you have to have like a master's degree in psychology. And I was like, that's not for me. So, you know, so there's more like that are like, I always say it's more of like scholastic, like academic, like I'm going to become like a counselor or a therapist. And then there's other programs that are more for what I do, which is more sort of just like broad education. So it's like I can speak to like specifics, but in general, I'm more of just interested in like the big picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But getting certified was really interesting because it was so weird. Like I really wasn't sure if it was like the right path. I really wasn't sure if it was the thing that I wanted to do. And during class, like in class would be these like moments where you know, people, you know, like they would be talking about like sex and sexuality. I'm like, none of this applies to me. Like, what are you talking about? And I would get so frustrated. And there was like one very specific example where we were talking about like, you know, what to do if like sex gets interrupted or like somebody has to go to the bathroom or like you fall off the bed or whatever. Yeah. And the guy teaching the class was so dismissive and he was so flippant. And he was like, yeah, it's like no big deal. You know, like sex, you know, the moment isn't precious. Like, you know, you just come right on back and you just get back. And I was like, oh, that's not my reality. Like, that's not my life. Like, what? And I remember, like, I raised my hand. I was like, well, what if it is? And he was like, oh, well, that's not a thing. And I was like, cool. Okay, cool. And so that was really, like, being in classes where my own experience and my own sort of, like, I don't know, struggles were, like, not ever addressed and not ever, like, talked about. Like that was where I was like, okay, then yeah, this is what I want to do.
Yeah And I suppose it's one of those things where, you know, you see that and then you go and experience what it's like and you go, this is actually really fulfilling. I'm really filling a gap here, which is, you know, I don't know, it gives really me a kick when I do that.
Yeah, it's been really amazing. It's been an honor and it's been a privilege. It's also been completely exhausting, but it's really been worth it. It's really been worth it.
Yeah, and so obviously you give a lot of advice on the internet. You do a lot of check-ins, which make me actually, you know, worry about myself from time to time. But that's okay. But like when you were learning all this stuff, what made you decide that you wanted to go to TikTok and share it there?
It's sort of all happened organically, honestly. Like I started making videos talking specifically about ADHD, but there were so many people talking about ADHD that I was like, okay, well, like I like talking about just, you know, the sort of like broad general topic of ADHD, but I realized really quickly that my experience with ADHD was very different than a lot of people's because I was diagnosed very late in life. I was diagnosed the day before my 30th birthday. And technically I know, right? I was like, and technically I got the phone call like on my 30th birthday, but the appointment was the day before. Not that it matters, but but growing up, I was amazing at school. I was a straight A student. I love school. I have 2 master's degrees. Like I was really into academics in school. And like 90% of the time, the conversation surrounding ADHD is, you know, like a struggling student or like a 7-year-old boy who's like messing around in the back of the classroom. And that wasn't me. And that wasn't my experience. And so I very much sort of started talking more specifically about being like an older diagnosed person, but then even more than that, the experience of like being a burnt out gifted kid and like going through like the experience of struggling with these things, but then also hearing on the other side that like I'm so smart and I'm so intelligent and I'm so good at all of this stuff, so like why can't I keep my room clean, you know? Or you know, you get straight A's, I don't understand why you lose all of your homework assignments and you have to do them twice. And it was like, well, it was ADHD all along, you know? And then even more than that, like the more that I sort of started like opening up about me and like my experience and like what I had gone through, a lot of that had to do with like relationships and sex and kink and that kind of thing. And so it's just sort of like was more like, okay, well, here's a little bit more of me. Here's a little bit more of me, you know? And so it was very organic. It wasn't like I woke up one day and I was like, today I will be the ADHD and sex lady. It just kind of happened, which I like. I like that it happened that way because I got to really like make my own path. And that has been an incredible experience.
Yeah. And I think, you know, some of the most insightful stuff is that stuff then that kind of moves over towards the burnt out, gifted and talented kid with a praise kink.
Yeah.
Because of all things, I am a burnt out, gifted and talented kid with a praise kink. And I'm like, I really could use some of this stuff. But where did, you know, A, the acronym, and B, that whole concept of, you know, we need to be supporting these kids who are often thrust very early on into gifted and talented programs?
Oh, man. Can you clarify the question a little bit?
I will. Sorry. It was
No,
a
you're
little
fine.
bit complicated there. Yeah. So, like, you know, the whole, you had mentioned before, the whole gifted and talented stuff. Yeah. Where did that evolution come from? Like, and that whole, we've got to talk about the fact that there's a whole bunch of kids who are in gifted and talented programs who are, like, sitting here struggling a little bit. Oh,
yeah. I mean, for me, honestly, it came down to a conversation about cardboard boxes. And it's going to sound really silly, but I promise that there's a point. But, like, my whole life, I've been amazing at school. Like that I just was, you know. But my room was always a mess. Like my room was just always a mess. And that was like just my existence. And as a kid, like it was like the bone of contention between me and my mom. It was the thing that like she would yell and scream and argue. And like I would just be like, it is clean, like fuck, you know.
Yeah.
And so, but there was always this sort of like direct comparison made. There was always this direct, like, you are so good at this thing. Why aren't you good at this thing? And I always kind of looked at it and I was like, okay, well, you don't walk up to a surgeon and say, you're so good at surgery, but why can't you fly airplanes? Like, it's two completely different skill sets. But the truth is that in sort of like gifted and talented culture, there's this idea that you are supposed to be exceptional at everything, that because you are gifted in one area, of course you're gifted everywhere, of course like you're good at everything, and then if you're not, then there's something wrong and you're not trying hard enough and you're not applying yourself, and if you just tried a little bit harder. And so that was the message that I got over and over and over and over again was, well, if you just tried harder, if you just applied yourself, if you just did XYZ thing. And thankfully there's been like a lot of progress, you know, since I've been older in terms of like people really fighting that and talking about how like gifted and talented programs can be really damaging to kids like long term.
Yeah.
But again, like I just kind of started talking about it because, oh gosh, I completely lost my train of thought. No, like I started talking about it because what I found was that there were so many people who were like watching my content, who were like amazing writers and amazing artists and amazing moms and parents and, you know, all of these different things. But, you know, they really struggled to do the dishes or they really struggled to keep their house clean or whatever. But it had always been grounded in this, if you just tried harder or you're so good at all of this other stuff, you are there's something fundamentally wrong with you that you can't do this other part, this other component part. And that's just, it's a false dichotomy. It's not a real comparison. And so I really just started talking about that, honestly.
Yeah. And like the more, like even for myself, the more I reflect on even my life currently, you know, I'm in my final year of university. I have a really great, you know, everything's set up really well. I've put myself in a position where I am confident that I'll have a successful career coming out of university and whatever. I'm studying journalism of all things.
Oh, that's so cool.
But then at the same time, the mountain of dishes that sit in the sink, and the coffee cups that end up sitting on my desk, because I sit here from 7 to 9 every morning working, is like, it gets a little ridiculous. And I go, why can't I control this part of my life when everything else seems to be going so well? And it does become that equation of everything needs to be correct. And I'm like, everything's not correct. Everything's not fine. Help a little bit. And then, but yeah, and personally, I can't believe that there were so many people in the same position as me who went through these gifted and talented programs and got out the other side and gone, I don't want to ever do that again.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true.
Yeah. And I think we're getting to the point where a lot of the early, at least recent memory, gifted and talented students are now becoming parents as well.
Yeah.
Like, we see those trappings. We're not going to get into that. We're going to, let the kid be successful in their own right, not with the extra pressures of a gifted and talented program.
Exactly.
Yeah. What kind of, engagement then did you get from that stuff, and what were some of the interesting stories that you then started to hear after talking about that kind of stuff?
Oh man, I mean it got really good engagement because I'm here, you know. But I mean, that was the thing, is it's so interesting to me how my specific sort of content creator, quote unquote, journey has been. Because it's sort of just a perpetual, snowball rolling down the hill. It's it started off very broad, very I guess ADHD, but the bigger my audience got, the more I realized that there was power in specificity, and there was power in really talking about these specific experiences. And I sort of liken being a content creator to going into a park, right? And just standing on an apple crate and being this is what I have to say, Yeah. And, it was really interesting because I stood up on my little apple crate in the park and I was like, ADHD. And, a couple people stopped and started listening, and then a couple more, and then a couple more. And then the next thing I knew, there were 1.5 million people in the park. And I was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But I mean, the stories that I hear, it really is proof that if you know one person with ADHD, you know one person with ADHD. There are many similarities between, neurodivergent people, but there are so many differences. And a lot of it is foundationally based in the fact that we all have different backgrounds. We all, like you and your brother, we all have different supports that we get and we receive during our lives. And so some of us, my partner, Eric, he was diagnosed at a very young age. And so he sort of knew going in, but I didn't. That's a very different experience, So I hear from a lot of parents. I get a lot of emails from parents, usually saying one of two things. One is, you help me recognize that my kid has ADHD, and out of realizing that my kid has ADHD, I realized that I have ADHD. Yeah. That happens to be a lot. But the other one is just, I get a lot of messages from people just saying you help me understand my ADHD kid more. You help me understand my ADHD, partner or whoever more.
Yeah.
And those are the messages that are the most special to me, because I really went into this, I didn't set out to be, a hero or anything. I just went I'll make some fun videos about ADHD, but realizing how easy it can be to make a difference and how easy it can be to make people feel not alone. That has been just an incredible honor, I think, Yeah.
And obviously, you mentioned it at the very start, you've started branching out to other platforms as well. Yeah. I know that you do a lot of work on Twitch, but also, what was the experience of shifting from TikTok, which is for social media, relatively new, to the other more established brands?
I mean, it was really weird because I'm of the age where I watched social media happen. I didn't have, Facebook was invented when I was in college. And so there was a lot of my looking at social media early on, when I was younger, and saying oh, that's not for me. Nobody wants to hear my story. My story doesn't matter, that kind of thing. And so coming to TikTok and having TikTok go down the way that it did was weird. I wasn't expecting it, I had an Instagram for ages and ages and ages and ages, you know,
Yeah.
and so I'm finally sort of like gaining a little bit of traction on Instagram, and like my Twitter is still like a joke, you know.
Yeah.
But the big one that I was scared of was YouTube, was because YouTube was another one where I really felt like I had missed the boat. I really felt like it was too late. It was too late to get into the game. Like, who the fuck was I? You know, like that kind of thing. And then I got banned from TikTok. There was a weekend. It was almost a year ago, almost to the day, and because one of the big problems on TikTok is that you can weaponize like the report button, and if you build a bot that just sits there and spams the report button, you can get people's accounts taken down, and some shitty troll decided it would be funny to do that to me.
Yeah.
So I lost my account for a weekend, and over that weekend, I started a YouTube channel, and I started a Twitch, and the community really rallied. Like, they really rallied around me in a way that I wasn't expecting. Like, I didn't know I had that kind of following. I didn't know I had that kind of, like, because to me, I was just talking about ADHD, you know, and so many people like helped and sent emails and everything that my account got, you know. I was brought back by that Monday. But that was the moment where I went like, oh, like, people really are looking at me. They really are invested in what I have to say. They really do believe in what I am doing. Maybe I should make like longer form content. And then that just turned into like shit posting Minecraft videos on YouTube. But, you know, so we're making progress. Look, I keep saying I'm going to do.
Yeah. Look, Minecraft, I think, is one of those things where it's just universally liked. We've seen the re-rise of the whole, I don't know whether you follow it, the whole Dream SMP stuff. And I'm just like, you know what? I love those creators. I think they're incredibly smart, and they're doing an amazing job.
Yes.
You mentioned the whole TikTok banning thing. And of course, this morning I was scrolling through TikTok, and probably at least 3 of the videos I scrolled through this morning, half asleep, was people being banned going, help me, like, I don't have access to my account anymore.
Yeah.
Do you think that, like, as a long-term TikTok creator, do you think that that's something that is going to really affect the sustainability of TikTok as a platform? I
think TikTok is doing everything wrong. Like, it's funny. It starts to get funny to me at a certain point. Like, it is baffling to me how much TikTok just continues to fuck up over and over and over again. And it's like, I honestly, like, there's part of me that I get really scared because the huge bulk of my audience is on TikTok. Yeah. By, you know, huge percentiles, and I'm like, I don't see TikTok lasting more than a couple years if they don't get their shit together, you know. I mean, it's basic fundamental platform issues, like you know, like their video editor is constantly broken. There's like, you know, if you green screen in a video, you can't adjust any of the clips. It's just like shitty stuff like that. But then it's like the big deal, the big topic stuff, like the way that, you know, like misinformation is allowed to just be on the app, racism, transphobia, homophobia, all the isms, you know, are just all there. Literal actual Nazis just having meetings on TikTok. And, you know, they won't deal with that, but they will give us 10-minute videos. It's like, what are you fucking doing? Like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting because it's like, and I'm just the size of creator where so many people look up to me, and so many people are like, to me, I am their picture of what a content creator is. But like, Charlie D'Amelio has 120 million followers. Like, I like what, like, I have like, I'm nobody on TikTok. Like, there's such a discrepancy. But the creator economy is such where it's like, you know, if you have 80 followers, like, holy shit, 1 million followers, that's amazing. But it's like, I look at that and I go like, yeah, but like, TikTok doesn't listen to me. Like, I'm small potatoes. They're listening to the 40, 50, 60, 70 million follower people who are dancing. Yeah. Like, it's a very different app for some people, man.
Like, it started as that. And there's a reason why I didn't cave when my friends first got it. I also know a little bit more of like the whole Musical.ly origins of TikTok, and I had been aware of it, and I was like, you know what, it's probably not the platform for me. I was never allowed social media as a kid. By the time I think I got Facebook when I was 16, and that was for a very specific reason. And it was just like this whole new world to me. And like, even then, like I post the occasional video on TikTok, and but like it's just so backwards as compared to every other platform. I work quite closely with podcasts, creation platforms. I use Anchor for this podcast.
Hey,
And
so do we. Anchor friends.
Great platform.
I
Yeah.
love Anchor so much.
Yeah. Run by Spotify, which obviously has been having a bit of issue recently with the whole Joe Rogan stuff, but we'll let that slide. Anchor is a great platform. I've been working on Twitter quite closely. I'm a journalist. I'm kind of forced to use Twitter, as much as it's a bit of a cesspit. But like, I look at those and I was thinking about it today. I'm like, on Twitter, people say whatever they want. And a lot of the time, there's systems in place for people who are spreading hate and misinformation on Twitter. Yeah. But like, people aren't being banned and then coming from a secondary account saying, please, help me get my account back on Twitter. It was blocked. I did nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a very platform specific issue.
Yeah.
And as you say, the editor's crap. I did video editing. I still do video editing. And I don't like editing things on TikTok. So I try to do them in a single take now, because I'm like, I just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so much. But yeah, the big one is just the weaponizing of the fact that trolls can just silence anybody that they don't like with literally the click of a button in a way that is it all like, I mean, some people, like, especially if they don't have like a backup account or like a previously like built-in community like I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it can take people months to get their account back. I've heard people literally waiting like 2-3 months to get an email back saying that like, we'll consider reinstating your account, Yeah. It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, and it's terrifying as well, as people on the internet, because that becomes, not that the TikTok Creator Fund is very equitable, but it becomes part of your living. It becomes part of your who you are as a person.
Yeah.
You become a TikToker. You don't become a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer. You become a TikToker, and that you lose the account and you lose the credibility and you kind of almost lose the profession, which I think is incredibly scary. I
mean, I'm scared all the time. Like, I am terrified 100% of the time. It's because and I think a lot of it has to do with like, and I was joking about this the other day, and this is going to sound very pretentious, and so I'm sorry, you will forgive me. But I was talking with one of my old theater professors about it, and he was giving me a hard time for being the most famous person to come out of my class in a way that nobody expected. Yeah. And I was like, nobody prepares you for creator style fame. Nobody prepares you for like suddenly having 1.5 million people looking at you, 1.5 million people with very different backgrounds and very different opinions and that kind of thing. And so, especially because like it all snowballed so fast, it constantly feels like it can go away that fast. Like one bad take, one, unfortunate phrasing, one poor explanation, like one whatever. It feels like it can all go away. And like, I make the joke, but like, there's like, my corner of TikTok is exploding right now with like this like really awful drama that's going on. And I tend to really stay out of TikTok drama as much as I can, because I just find it to be toxic, and I'm not a drama person. But what it really made me realize is like, what shocked me was logging on to my TikTok and seeing, 30 lives where every single live was talking about this specific situation and their take on it and who was right and who was wrong. And I was like, that's horrifying. That's horrifying.
You never want that to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And but a lot of it is, it always feels like it can go away. But the other part of it too is like learning that I don't get to be a regular person anymore. And it sounds like, oh, poor you, you're so famous. And I'm like, but I don't mean it like that. It's things like, if I have a product that I love,
Yeah.
I have ruined people's fucking days by shouting out their product. Like there's been a couple of times where like I wore a sweater that I loved. I loved this sweater, and somebody said, "Oh, where did you get it?" And I told them in the comments, not thinking about the fact that 200,000 people were going to read those comments, and I sold out this person's Etsy store in 2 hours. And she contacted me. She was like, "What did you do? Like, do you know how long it takes?" Like, and I was like, "I'm so sorry. Like, I just answered the question, And even things like liking videos.
Yeah.
Like if I like a video, like the other day this happened to me and it was so funny. Like somebody duetted one of my videos and I always like watch them and I try and comment, like the video. And so she made a video being like, "Oh my God, Catieosaurus liked my video." And I was like, the amount of effort that it took me to push the like button was not worthy of a whole video. But then on that video, as a joke, I commented and I was like, "Oh my God, what would happen if she commented?" And then she made another video freaking out about and I was like, it's so big. It's so big and it's so much and it means so much to me. But I'm just scared all the time because it's like if liking a video is going to like change somebody's day, it's like, what if I make a joke in a comment that is misconstrued? Or what if I think that like, I'm being very funny and I'm not, or, whatever. And it's just like, I try so hard to never hurt anybody's feelings or upset anybody. But it's just, you can't be perfect all the time.
No.
But it's just, it just always feels like it's about to disappear. All the time, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah. And it's very become cancel-y. Like, I don't like talking about cancel culture because I know that it's very polarizing. However, like, and it's the thing is that people, I do it, and I've seen it on other platforms as well, but more so on TikTok, where people are terrified that everything's going to go because they do something slightly wrong. Yeah. And all of a sudden, they're not, like, officially cancelled in, like, the same way that, say, Mel Gibson should probably be cancelled, as I found out through one of my favourite journalists who was talking about him. But it was just, like, this weird dichotomy where, like, you have this incredible success, but you can't enjoy it. Like... And I don't know. You mentioned, exploring other platforms. Obviously, I'm a lover of a good pun. And I do have to mention, and I want to ask about the whole OnlyFans thing.
It's the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. I regret nothing.
Yeah. Where, like, when you get an idea like that, do you always act on it? Like, is
okay,
it that
listen. Here's the entire... I'm going to be real transparent, journalist interviewing me. Here's what happened. I was wine drunk at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
and I went, wouldn't it be funny if Mostly Pans was a website? And then I looked and nobody had bought it. And I went, okay. And I bought it. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, well... I own Mostly Pants, and that's the entire story. It was, it had like 3 glasses of wine, and I thought it was funny, and that's it. That's the whole story.
Like, it's amazing, and like that kind of like. Look, wine drunk at 3 a.m. is a very specific kind of drunk.
It is. It's a very specific mood. It's a very specific mood.
I've only been wine drunk at 3 a.m. a couple of times, but
it's terrible.
Yeah, I can confirm that you do things. You go, am I proud of this or do I regret this?
I mean, I did it as just an absolute I decided to actually go because I bought the website and I was like, all right, but I sat on it for like 3 days and I was like, do I actually want to like? But then I started thinking about it and I just got, the more that I thought about it, the more mad that I got, because another big problem with TikTok is that holy shit, do they want you to stay on your app? But it's like, they're not going to pay you. They're not going to pay you anything close to what you're worth. Like a really good like breakdown example is if a video on YouTube that has like ads enabled gets 1 million views, you are looking at between $5,000 and $6,000 worth of revenue just from that. Like if a video goes viral on YouTube, 5 to 6 grand minimum. The last time I had a video hit 1 million, I made $23.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I have been working more than 40 hours a week. And at the height of my being deeply unhealthy and invested, I was putting 70, 80 hours of work into TikTok for $20 if my video got $1 million.
Yeah.
But they don't let you promote anything outside of the app. Like if you say the word podcast, they will suppress the video. If you say, OnlyFans, like they'll take the video down.
Yeah.
So people have started speaking in code. And so I was just like, fuck you. Like, I have done, like, I don't think that I'm like amazing, but I do know that like my work is helping people, and I'm proud of the education that I do, and I'm proud of the advocacy work that I do. But the fact that TikTok just looks at it and goes, none of this is valid because how dare you say that you have a Twitter,
Yeah.
And so I was like, I figured out the workaround. And the workaround was just have a silly website that just redirects people to the website I want them to go to. And now I'm able to sustain myself and make a solid income and have the ability to do this work without having to worry about, paying the bills because I'm making more than $23 on 1 million views.
Yeah. And like the whole $23 on 1 million views reminds me of when creators first start partnering with brands and brands try to like lowball them and go, you're only worth, do the first 3 for free and then we'll consider paying you. Or, the really unhealthy practices that brands have around creators for paid content.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that we're getting to that point where TikTok has devalued the quality of short form content. And actually, in my opinion, short-form content is so much harder than long-form content. Yeah. And, like, yes, long-form content takes more time. I prefer making long-form content. But, like, it is so much harder for me to pull out my phone and film a TikTok than it is for me to sit down for 3 hours and edit, a motorbike video,
I miss Vine.
Yeah. Actually, to be honest, there is a point there. Like Vine, it was probably
Vine was like the purest form. It was the purest form. It was you have 6 seconds, and entire journeys were gone on in that 6 seconds. And it's like. And just like the insult to injury that TikTok being like, oh yeah, now you can make 10-minute videos for us for free. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that though.
It like hurts. Like I'm scared to see the option for 10 minutes. It'll take a couple of months to get to Australia, but I'm scared to see when that 10-minute pops up as an option.
Oh god. I got it. I just laughed. I saw like the little like ping, popped up on my phone. I just started laughing. I was like, what? Absolutely not. My audience would burn me to the ground.
Yeah.
Because like they all, like everybody who follows me has ADHD. Nobody wants 10-minute videos. What are you talking about?
Like even 3 minutes is too long from time to time.
I know.
I saw this person on TikTok who was like, we need to slow down. So I'm going to like put these challenges, which are like 3-minute videos of like testing, like you testing your attention span and concentration and just going, you're going to sit through this incredibly boring video.
Yeah.
So that, you can prove to yourself that you have the attention span of Vine. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, Vine forces you to be a lot more concise.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Like, it's funny though that you say that because like I'm in the opposite way. Cause like I started making content on TikTok. And so now it's like, I want to expand into YouTube and start doing longer form. And it's just like, it's impossible. Like I get in front of the camera and I'm like, I have as much time as I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
What? And it's just, and then I get like scared and I like don't, and I get so paralyzed by choice that I like just don't make the video. And so I think what I need to just be like, okay, I have 7 minutes. I'm gonna however long it takes me to explain it, 7 minutes, like just something like that, because that's the hardest part for me now is I learned on TikTok and now I have to like turn the phone the other direction and say whatever I want. All right.
It's funny because we do the opposite in my journalism course. I've got this amazing American professor who loves innovating. He loves playing with new technology. And so he's like, let's do vertical news, like, vertical video news. And I'm like sitting here going, while I love the constraints of news and the fact that, you're fitting in with a certain amount of seconds that are available on the airwaves, I work in radio, for example, and our news bulletins that we put out every morning are 5 minutes max. And normally we try to keep it shorter because 5 minutes is a lot of time for an announcer to carve out of their schedule to put in a news bulletin. But then he's like, let's do vertical news and let's do it in 1 minute. I'm like, I struggle to explain one concept in 1 minute to someone.
See, that's what I got really good at. And so then 3 minutes for me was the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Because it was I have enough time to at the beginning be introduce the topic and then concept and then closer.
Yeah,
because,
100%.
But with the minute videos, I just have to be today we're going to talk about this and then just start talking. Yeah. But sometimes it's you want the preface. You want to be here's why we care. 100%, here's some context. You know what I mean? So I like the 3, but God, 10 is just I refuse.
I remember everyone laughing about the 3 and then all of a sudden we're like, well, actually the 3 might be useful. I remember the whole historian beef with this lady who's convinced that Rome doesn't exist.
Oh my God,
it
that's
still continues.
The funniest thing that I've
great.
I went so hard down that rabbit hole one night. I was so here for it. I was so here. I was like, I love this. I love that this is the hill that she has chosen to die on.
Yeah.
Good for her. Honestly, good for her. That's so bananas. It's that's me just being Disney World doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I've never been there. It doesn't exist. What are you talking about? It's so funny to me.
It's the flat earther conspiracy that Australia doesn't exist and they fly everyone to New Zealand and they're just all actors. It's okay, New Zealand exists, but somehow Australia doesn't.
Australia doesn't. It's terrible.
But yeah, and it's kind of amazing to see different communities just pop up and it's oh, they're fighting a war against someone who is really just trying to bring them down, and they've all gotten together and gone, we're gonna stop this bullshit. This is not on.
Yeah.
I love it, and I think that kudos to everyone who gets on those bandwagons because they're so funny sometimes.
I was I just really I like the Rome one particularly because I have 2 master's degrees in Shakespeare, but one of my master's degrees specifically is in how Shakespeare talked about Rome. Mm-hmm. And so I know a lot about how Rome was taught and written about in the Elizabethan period, and I'm just you're so wrong, you're so wrong.
It's where did this come from? It kind of come from
but there's also there's that chaotic evil part of me that low key wants her to just be right, to have her have been the one right person, just vindicate, and I'm I know it's not true, I just think it'd be very funny.
Yeah. 100%. I was yes, if she was right and everyone else was wrong, it'd be insanely hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, and there are a lot of in jokes on TikTok, and I think, I don't know, do you struggle sometimes following, obviously you've got your hands in many different areas of TikTok, neurodivergency, sex education, gifted and talented people, they all kind of merge in some spots, but do you struggle to then follow everything else? Someone's talking about some other beef on TikTok and you're what? I've never heard of this.
Oh, all the time it happens. Because the joke that I always tell is that the Venn diagram of neurodivergent people, kinky people, and people who play Dungeons and Dragons just looks like a stack of pancakes. And so it's I never know what's going on because I get all of the content, but it's just I get, I'll get 2 videos from D&D TikTok, and then I'll get 3 videos from ADHD, and then I'll get theater TikTok, and because my shameful secret, and not a lot of people know this, but I was a theater person way before anything else. And so TikTok still really has me very solidly on theater talk, cosplay talk, stuff that I don't necessarily post about, but that I like to watch. And
Yeah.
so it's like, you know, like there was like a bunch of beef with some girl on D&D TikTok, and I had no idea what anybody was talking about until somebody was like, why are you doing an event with this person? Like, didn't you know what her deal was? And I was like, I've never heard of this person in my life, please somebody tell me what's going on, you know?
Yes.
And so like there's been like a couple of times where like it's kind of sucked to have to deal with because of the way that the algorithm works. It's like I have my TikTok, but if I hand my phone to my husband, it's a completely different version of TikTok that he sees. And so there's this assumption, and it's actually, this is a silly story, but as a journalist you will appreciate this story. So a thing that keeps happening to me, and I think this is very funny, is that journalists will call me and they're all like, a lot of them have wanted to write a story. Yeah. But the story is always like, I think it's bullshit that so many people have TikTok and they're all diagnosing themselves with ADHD, and you know, ADHD is this like trendy new thing, and ADHD is all anybody sees on TikTok, and I was like, and I'll do the interviews, and then about midway through I'll be like, you know, like 95% of people on TikTok don't see ADHD content. So if you are seeing ADHD content and you are mad and you are annoyed by how much ADHD content TikTok is telling you, like showing you, I was like, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem, dog. And like, there's literally been a couple of journalists who have like canceled the project. Because they realize, like, because it was so biased. Because because people don't think about the fact that, like, everybody is on a different TikTok. Yeah. We all just assume that they're all, like, experiencing the same exact thing as us. And it's like, I have people who I love, and I love their content, and I follow them, and none of my followers have any idea who they are. Yeah. And I just think that's so weird. It's just such a unique thing about TikTok.
I love it like that. Like, you don't, you know... I think it's one of those things where you don't see... It's like YouTube's trending page. Obviously, it's a great measurement as to what is really popular at certain particular points in time. However, at the same time, you know, the fragmentation of TikTok means that you don't have to worry about what is popular. You can just follow what you want to follow. Yeah. And I really appreciate that. That's why I stuck with it. Of all things, I uninstalled TikTok. It would have been about a year ago. I just, maybe a little bit before then. And I uninstalled it. I was in uni. I was way too stressed out. I was like, I need to stop distracting myself with TikTok. I need to give myself a healthy relationship with social media. And something needs to give. So I did. And I reinstalled it probably about 6 months later and got back into it. And obviously, when you uninstall TikTok, I think I deleted my account of all things. Everything's gone. Like, no drafts. I think, because I deleted my account, I had nothing. Like, no people I followed. Some of them I followed on Instagram, but I'm not very good at that whole conversion to Instagram kind of thing. My Instagram feed's very different to my TikTok feed. And so then I had to start again, and it was very interesting. I then started recognizing creators I had seen before. I'm like, oh, I remember this person. I really like their content. And then I watched it. I'm like, maybe not the corner of TikTok I want anymore. And like, it was very, very fascinating to see like the change, but also like, you know, the different corners of TikTok than I ended up on because I reset everything. Yeah. Yeah.
I've thought about doing that so many times, just clear all my drafts, but I'm emotionally attached to all of my drafts, so I can't delete them.
Me too. It's like, I know that these drafts are crap, and like, there's a reason why I don't post them, and they do take up an inordinate amount of space on my phone, but please don't let them go.
Out of curiosity, how many drafts do you have on your phone right now?
Let me check. It'll be a few, actually. Don't crash, please, TikTok. 42. It's not that many.
Those are amateur numbers.
I know,
I'm sitting over here with, let's see, I'm going to check. I'm sitting over here with 387, so...
Oh, fucking hell.
It's because every time anybody asks, like, a good question in the comments, I, like, save it as, like, a draft, and then that way, if I can't think of any content that day, I'll, like, go back and I'll be like, oh, that was a good question, and I'll just answer it. Yeah. But yeah, my draft problem is out of control.
Do you have, like... I know that a lot of people, like... you can use their personal phone to film TikToks. Do you like have like a TikTok phone where it's like got all extra storage and stuff?
I don't. And what is actually double funny is that I have not gotten a new phone since I started TikTok. And the first day that I got this phone, I dropped the camera on a nail. Like I set my phone on a gate and there was like a nail sticking out of the top of it. So it punctured the glass and it broke the camera. So I have literally built a TikTok empire with a phone camera that doesn't actually work. Like it's broken and it's really funny. And I have to hold the phone at a very specific angle because otherwise the broken glass will give me like a J.J. Abrams like lens flare.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a whole thing. And people keep being like, just get a new phone. And I'm like, yeah, but that would be hard.
My friend made a comment to me in high school. He goes, you go through phones way too quickly. I had broken the screen on 2 phones in a row within, like, I think a year. He goes, you go through phones too quickly. And then I bought myself a new phone right, like, midway through 2020. And I'm like, I'm going to prove a point and I'm not going to upgrade my phone.
Yeah.
And so my mum and my dad and all my brothers have all upgraded their phones. They've got new ones, and it's an 8+. Like it's
that's not bad. That's what I had before this one.
Yeah, and like I like the phone, and I'm not willing to get rid of it yet. But at the same time, I have been extremely tempted to upgrade my phone. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
There's apparently this new phone, and they don't have it like at the place where I have my like my phone service or whatever. But there's this new phone where it's like the regular camera flips up to become the front-facing camera.
Oh, yeah,
and so it's supposed to be, like, really, like, crazy good, like, high quality on, like, because you're using the same camera. I desperately want that phone, but, like, they don't make it for, like, Sprint or whatever. And I'm just like, so I'm, like, mad about it.
Yeah, I think the best decision my parents ever made was deciding to buy our phones separately to our phone plans. And I can just do whatever I want. The hardest thing is then trying to find one that isn't locked to a network.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because Australia's internet is notoriously terrible. And it's always like a guessing game. And that's why I like doing podcast recordings on a Saturday morning, because no one's using the internet. And it's like...
That's so interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that like? Does it just get, like, really busy, like, during the day?
Especially in the afternoon, so between like 4 and 10, it slows, and it gets to the point where my brother might be watching anime on the TV, I'm in a meeting, my other brother's in a meeting, we all live together in the same house, and like the internet slows. I have to turn my camera off and go, I need to hear what's being said. People don't need to see me. I can just turn my camera off and ignore it. Or even the other day, my brother and I do a lot of the things the same. And so we were both in a meeting, but on other ends of the house, like just in the meeting, because we were in different like breakout rooms on Zoom or whatever. And it was just like, well, like the internet's just going to be really bad today. We're just going to understand that because, that's just how it is. It makes terrible audio recording quality, but, it's very interesting. Last but kind of not least, and we've brushed on it a couple of times, the whole D&D, and then why do I always forget the name? The fake TV show that you were on as well.
Ships of the Northern Fleet. You mean the very real and super definitely very super real show?
I was about to say, sorry, it's very real.
I mean, if you look on IMDb, it exists, so it's fine.
It must be real. It's on IMDb.
It's on IMDb. It must be real.
But like getting into D&D and that kind of experience, what did that look like for you?
Oh gosh. I mean, I have like a weird history with D&D because my dad played D&D. And my dad always wanted me to play D&D, but I didn't actually get into it until after he had passed away. I actually didn't start out playing D&D. I started off playing a game called Edge of the Empire, which is like D&D but Star Wars. And I loved it. And I was sitting in for a friend who was playing with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. But we played with the same group of guys for like almost 8 years. And so that game was like really, really special to me. But basically, like I'm like uniquely suited for Dungeons and Dragons because I love like puzzle solving, like escape room type stuff. But I also have a background in theater and writing, and I'm a really good writer, and so I love like writing and conceptualizing like D&D stuff. But also, perhaps most importantly, my secret is that I also worked at an improv theater for almost 10 years. Nobody knows this about me. And so between having a really good like theater writing background, but also improv, but also like just really liking puzzles and like that kind of thing, D&D is perfect. But one of the reasons why I started specifically talking about it is because D&D can be very inaccessible to a neurodivergent person for a number of reasons. But what's really interesting is that I also have an invisible disability that sometimes like makes it really hard to get around, makes it really hard to move, like that kind of stuff. And so I started kind of just really talking about like the inaccessibility of TTRPGs, both in like the mental space of neurodivergency, but also like physical space. And people really, they got really into it. And like, I realized kind of with the ADHD stuff as well, like there was a community and there was a platform and there was a discussion that needed to be had. And I've been lucky enough that like, you know, we spent, you know, like once the pandemic had sort of like settled down, we started doing like a lot of like speaking events and stuff and just talking about that with like just different folks. And it's been amazing. It's been wonderful. And I really like it because I've found that a lot of times D&D is this very like, everybody knows D&D. Like even if you haven't played it, like you've heard of it. And so it's like, it's a very accessible way of opening up a conversation about accessibility. You know, even if you don't know how to play, you can be like, well, imagine you're playing a board game with your friends and you don't know the rules, but they all do. Like, are you going to have fun? Like, let's, you know, like that kind of thing. And so, so it's been really cool. Ships of the Northern Fleet is a whole different story.
I think it's fascinating because it's part of TikTok that I saw and I've never really tried to understand. I just let the chaos reign at that point. But like all the inside jokes, like that person who was telling people to comment chairs, the chair emoji, things like Ships of the Northern Fleet. What else? And there's just so many other, you know, cool in-jokes that different communities have that I just go, this is proof that TikTok has value here. It's connecting people in a way that they haven't been connected in, say, YouTube comments or on Twitter or on Instagram. It becomes a lot more collaborative. And I think that whole stitch and duet and answering questions really helps that. And I can't wait to see where it goes. Final question before we wrap up. Does the future look like for you? What are you hoping? What are your hopes and dreams for beyond now?
I want to play D&D with Brandon Lee Mulligan. That's it.
Look,
that's
I think that's the aim for everyone.
That's the only dream that no. I mean, honestly, people ask me that all the time, and the real truth is I don't have a good answer because I really am enjoying what I'm doing. I'm working on a book about ADHD. So we're going to see like where that kind of leads. I also very recently got like a fancy Hollywood agent. And so like, you know, I would like to start doing like more acting stuff again. I think that would be really nice. But I mean, if I had like actual hopes and dreams, my list is very simple. I want to be on Sesame Street and I want to talk about ADHD. I want to sit down with Elmo. I want to have a conversation about ADHD. I wanted the reason I became an actor was because I love Sesame Street so much. So that's like the bucket list, you know? But past that, I mean, I just want to keep creating. I just want to keep helping. I just want to keep advocating and educating and I want to just try really hard not to fuck it all up. I agree. That Sesame Street thing is definitely something that I could see you on in the next few years. I feel like I'd be really good at it.
You just diagnose a character with ADHD. You go, I'm the doctor. I'm you know, you have ADHD. This is what, you know, living with ADHD looks like.
Also, this is really helpful for your audio podcast listeners, but I also do have a Muppet version of myself. So
yes.
So, you know, I feel like just Muppet Catie could come on too, and that would be okay.
Yeah. I definitely think that would be amazing. Also, I did see a comment the other day, and not to say that I'm doubting anyone, but you know you're a good actor when you're put on Sesame Street and you can hold your own against Elmo, who's pulling some sort of bullshit.
It's what Elmo doesn't know is that I have an amazingly good Elmo impression, and so I'm keeping it secret until I get asked on, and then I'm just gonna hit him with the impression. I'll be like, "That's what you sound like right now. Yeah. Calm down.
Yeah. Although Elmo talk is amazing as well. I love that whole It's weird, you know. Of all things, a good friend of mine and previous guest on the podcast, Mary Clay from That's What I'm Talking About, who, of all things, a couple of years ago started reading Lord of the Rings for the first time. For those who know. But she made this comment. She's like, I made it onto Frog Talk. And to me, it wasn't a trivia quiz that I was doing for the network that her podcast is a part of. And I took a screenshot of it, and I'm like, this is the, you know, the epitome of the chaos of TikTok and why I love it. And I love, you know, having that part of the world, that part of my life on the internet, and it's amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Catie, for coming on Content and Capable. I really appreciated talking to you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This was great.
Where can people find you on the internet?
Oh gosh, I am Catieosaurus on all platforms, so you can follow me on TikTok, on YouTube, on Insta, on Twitter. Honestly, just if you go to my Twitter, don't expect much. It's mostly just me ranting about stuff at 2:00 in the morning. What else am I forgetting? I don't know, I'm probably forgetting something. But Catieosaurus on all social media. I also have a podcast. It's called Catie and Eric's Infinite Quest, an ADHD adventure. We talk about life with ADHD and depression. And also we play D&D sometimes. So there's that. And also I have a mostly fans, I guess, since we brought it up, and that's all that I can think of right now.
Awesome. And has there been any media that you've been consuming recently that you want to plug?
I did start reading Lord of the Rings, but people probably know about Lord of the Rings right now.
Sometimes it's good to remind people of, like, just series like that. Like, every now and then, I, like, reread Percy Jackson and I go, I forget why this is a good series, but I'm glad I've reminded myself.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, no, I just started Lord of the Rings, and I also am reading Discovery of Witches, because apparently that's just what I'm doing with my life right now, so it's fine.
Yeah, amazing. Awesome. Well, you can find me, listener can find me on Instagram and TikTok at sam.the.journalist and on Twitter at samobjournalist. I'm doing a lot of retweeting on my Twitter at the moment because I'm running a newsroom every morning 5 days a week, which I don't know whether it's stressful or fun. Like, I don't know. I'm yet to determine what that is. I am also, I'm going to plug The Politician on Netflix. It's a Ben Platt TV series, which I'm obsessed with. Like, it is so, it's like an unhealthy obsession. Like, I just, like, watch it and I go, this is terrible. This is giving me so much anxiety watching this, but I love it. And it, I don't know, my siblings hate it, so I must be good. So, but yeah, thank you so much, Catie, for coming on. I really appreciated talking to you, and I can't wait to see the amazing content that you create into the future.
Hooray! Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you for listening to Content and Capable. You can follow the podcast socials at Content, the letter N, Capable, on Instagram and Twitter. You can send a super boring email to us through contentandcapablepod@gmail.com. The art was done by Opia. You can follow them on opia_art on Instagram. Opia is spelled OPIA. Feel free to message them about making art for your project. Our music was written, recorded, and edited by Nora Strauss-Riggs.
You can find Nora at Kane_I, that's I as in the body part, on Instagram and Twitter. Feel free to message her about making music for your project or editing your podcast. I am proud to be a part of the Movie Night Crew Network, which features Of the Eldest Gods, a chapter-by-chapter Rick Riordan pod full of myths and legends, My Cabbages, an Avatar podcast that follows the true hero of Avatar The Last Airbender, the Cabbage Cart Guy, Fandom's Gone Wrong, a show that discusses all things fandoms, the Movie Night Crew, join some friends as they react to some terrible, some meh, and some really great movies, and the Restricted section, a chapter-by-chapter Harry Potter pod with lots of spoilers all the time.
What's up, potheads? It's me, your host, Christina. Welcome to the Restricted section. No, we're not in Hogwarts. It's like a metaphor. Do you get it? Like, we're raunchy, and we get drunk, and we make sex jokes, and we have an all spoilers all the time policy. So, you know, it's like the Restricted section. I've been told that explaining jokes makes them funnier. If you've ever wondered how the Marauders map actually works, if you've ever thought that maybe Snape sometimes wears jeans, if you've ever thought that Draco and Harry are for sure in love, I mean, they're for sure in love. If you've ever had a hard time deciding who you'd rather bang, Bill or Charlie, obviously Charlie, then this podcast is for you. You don't even have to do the reading, we'll do it for you. Catch the Restricted section every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts, and find us online at Restricted Section Pod.
Content and Capable is a podcast all about answering the question, how do you adult? Don't forget to rate and review it on your favourite podcatcher, and I will see you next Monday for another episode.
That movie sucked. I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.